Sele ba bangata Batswana ba tseba dilo tsa teng di etswa jwang.
Amandla. 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 Ahlale phansi bambe umthetho. Ahlale phansi bambe umthetho. Amandla. Amandla. Good afternoon, comrades. The Kotane family, Khosi Mutotlehi, Re Khasiboni, and other traditional leaders, NEC members, leaders of the SACP, COSATU, and the leagues, the communities of Deep Kloof and Pela, Dumelang Bakwena, comrades and friends from across the country who joined us on Zoom and on Facebook and Twitter platforms. My name is Peace Mabi, a member of the PEC of the ANC in Gauteng province. I will be a co-director with Comrade Tsepo Balibisi from the Northwest province. May we start this event by observing a minute of silence for the passing of His Majesty King Zwelithini and the many others, including from the creative sector that have left us this week. So comrades, just quietly, let's just observe a moment of silence. Amen. Thank you very much, comrades. On the 31st of January 2021, just 2 weeks before she would have reached the extraordinary milestone of 109 years, Ma'am Rebecca Kotane left us. She was finally reunited with Ntate Moses Kotane, who passed on in 1978. They are both buried at the special heritage site in Pela, Moses Kotane municipality in the Northwest province. Comrade Kotane was in exile at the time of his passing and was buried in Moscow, Russia on the 14th of March 2015. 5 decades after his passing, we had the reburial of Ntate Moses Kotane in Pela. This inaugural Rebecca Kotane Memorial Lecture is in honor of Ma'am Kotane, who was an ANC member, an organizer, a freedom fighter, a member of the ANC Women's League, a community leader, a neighbor, a member of the South African Communist Party, who kept her family together during difficult times. In 2021, we celebrated the year of Charlotte Maxeke. We celebrate the year of Charlotte Maxeke, a woman who, like Ma'am Kotane, exemplifies the many roles that women play in society, and yet their contributions remain undervalued. The Rebecca Kotane Memorial Lecture is therefore aimed at highlighting the role of these unsung heroines, to remind ourselves that we stand on the shoulders of giants, and that the struggle of a non-racial, non-sexist South Africa continues. Re ne re tshwanetse gore ka motsotso ona re bitse Kgosi Godfrey Khasiboni ko gae ko Phela Mokoena. Jaanong re utlwile gore re Kgosi ka maswabi ga kgone go nna le rona ka gore o tlhagetswe ke kutlobotlhoko ko gae. tshidisegang Bakwena ke gone. Pele re ka tswella pele batswana. Ke rata go le itsise gore mo re kopane ka ga mang. Re kopane ka motho wa ga Sebitlo le Sebitlwana. Ke motho wa ga Motile le Motilenyana. Motshweneng ke tshweni e borethi ke nna tshweni ga ke naiwe matlhong ke naiwa mmeleng. Setlogolo sa moloto molatola batho tsa gabo ga di latolwe ngwetsi ya Bakwena. I will now hand over to my co-program director, Comrade Tsepo, to introduce himself.
Thank you, Comrade Peace. Let me, at this point in time, just take this moment to introduce myself. I am Tsepo Belebese. I am the IRC convener, which is the Interim Regional Committee convener of the ANC in the Northwest Province in Dr. Kenneth Kaunda region. I have been honored to co-chair this program with Comrade Peace from Gauteng in honor of this doyen of the struggle, a veteran in her own right, a struggle veteran and stalwart who today were having an inaugural memorial lecture in her honor. She indeed passed a few days. She was just short of a few days before she could reach a milestone of 109 years. Born on the same year that the ANC and our beloved liberation movement was born in 1912. She went on to serve in various structures of the movement. And at this point in time, Comrade Peace, I would like to, on the basis that she indeed was a veteran of our struggle, call on Comrade Leruti from the Veterans League to give us a short message of support, and will be followed by other messages from other structures within which Comrade Mam Rebecca Kotane served in her twilight years. Over to you, Comrade Leruti. Please unmute, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Am I audible? Can you hear me, Comrade Chair?
Yes, me. Yes, me.
Thank you. I would like to say that I am on behalf of the SG, Comrade SG Nazo. She asked me to represent her. The program directors, Motlotlegi Khosi in absentia, Masika Akotane, the leadership of the African National Congress, all the leagues of the movement and alliance partners present today, our dignitaries, MECs, ministers, comrades. Mama Rebecca Kotane is the wife of the late struggle icon and former Secretary General of the SACP, Comrade Moses Kotane, who died in exile. Mayor Kotane is described by many as a woman of great strength, selflessness, and bravery. At the announcement of her passing, Comrade Duarte, our DSG, described her as a woman of foresight, who is the embodiment of not just the history of the ANC, but also that of the painful past of South Africa. After she was widowed by the apartheid regime, the struggle stalwart persisted to fight for the liberation of her people. Over and above her political work, like many of us, she still had reproductive responsibilities to take care of as a single mother that could not have been easy at all. We remember Mama Kotane for her participation in the 1950s. She formed part of those that participated in the defiance campaigns then and mobilized towards the adoption of the Freedom Charter in 1955. In 1956, she was amongst the women who marched to the Union buildings and was detained and ill-treated by the then government for her beliefs. The apartheid regime tried to turn her against her husband and the fight for liberation, but she stayed true to her revolutionary principles. The liberation we enjoy today is as a result of the selflessness and bravery of women such as Mama Kotane. As women of South Africa and globally, we continue to be inspired by the unwavering and bold commitment of Mama Kotane. Comrade Kotane is a true heroine. The love she had for us, her people, is demonstrated in the life she led. May her spirit live on through her children, family, and us as comrades. Let us continue where she left off, because the fight for liberation and egalitarianism is not yet over. This is evident in the struggle of the gender-based violence we are battling as a country. Yes, many gains have been realized, but there remains a long way in ensuring a better quality of life for our people. Thank you, Comrade Chair.
Thank you, Ma'am Violet Leruti, for those words of encouragement through this difficult period in our struggle. We indeed are faced with the scourge of the gender-based violence and violence against our children. We also are alive to the fact that we're in a difficult period where COVID-19 has also besieged us. But however, I wish to at this point indicate that indeed one great family of the Kotanes were indeed children of the struggle and has followed in the footsteps of the great Comrade Moses Kotane, who was closely associated with the South African Communist Party, with Comrade Moses Kotane serving as its General Secretary from 1939, who steered it through the debates on the Native Republic, close working relationship with the ANC and the Defiance Campaign and the Congress of the People, having experienced the burning and the exile life of our organizations within the liberation movement until he met his untimely death in 1978. Our message, therefore, from Comrade Bulelwa Tunyiswa, a member of the CEC on behalf of the South African Communist Party, Central Executive Committee, we wish to welcome Comrade Vuiswa Tunyiswa. Please unmute and the floor is yours, Comrade Vuiswa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade Program Director. And I wish to greet Kotane. Firstly, we wish to convey our heartfelt condolences to King Goodwill Zwelithini's family, also the victim who lost his life during the vet student protest. May their souls also rest in peace. I also bring you revolutionary greetings from the South African Communist Party as led by the General Secretary. We feel honored to be part of this political lecture organized during the International Women's Days month. It was only last week when you organized a successful International Women's Day celebration as an organization, not as government this time. We really felt honored because we felt that POWER, which is the Pan-African Women's Organization, was revived. We also appreciate these webinars because we also shared the platform with Venezuela, Cuba, China last week, and all the progressive African countries. And we believe that Comrade Kotane and other revolutionary comrades like Mama Maxeke, Masisulu, Mawini, Clara Zetkin, Alexander Kolondai, and many other progressive women must be smiling from their graves, especially when we think about them and our own, the liberation struggle icon, Imbokoto ngokwayo, Ume Rebecca Kotane. As a precursor to the Human Rights Day in South Africa, rousing the memory of the liberation struggle icon is very befitting as gender-based violence, gender equity in the workplace, and the high levels of femicide have reached unprecedented level. It is very important that we use this opportunity and raise alarm bells and seek ways to bury these tendencies. Celebrating this icon should serve as a platform and a strategic moment of reflection, whether we are still on course and on the right path. As a mother strategist, a homemaker in her own right, Mary Rebecca Kotane was a wife to the freedom fighter, a wife to a husband miles away in exile, a constantly and prosecuted woman, and a leader in the liberation struggle. She hardly enjoyed life and never sold out. Ours is to ensure that as we remember her, her life, we may get strength. She was a courageous leader. She had a strong character who raised her kids alone, a source of inspiration. She was humiliated by apartheid authorities, intended to break their revolutionary spirit and discourage them from continuing with the struggle against apartheid. She practically supported his husband. She was a pillar of strength to Ndate Moses Kotane during the apartheid era. Me Kotane and Ndate Kotane in 1945 got married, and they were never separated by the apartheid regime. So as we remember her life, we must also think of not going the Mexican way. Let us be vigilant. Let us distinguish between comrades and criminals. Let us distinguish between those who want to build and those who want to destroy our country that has been fought for very hard by this icon and this heroine of ours. We can't produce, comrades, lawlessness and social breakdown. We can't produce champions of lawlessness. We can't produce champions of destabilization. Let us decisively, where there's decisions needed, take those decisions so that when Kotane is resting with her comrades, is excited and feel that the issues and the challenges that we face in the departments, especially the budgets for health, the budgets for education, the budget for the bursary for our kids, the budgets for the roads, energy, and water in our country is directed to the right cause. That budget should address the issues that are faced by the poor, especially working class women in our country. In conclusion, as we celebrate the life of Kotane, we must also guard against those who still use sexist language. We must guard against those who still oppress women, like Emma Hluchini, and where a woman refused to wear black or blue clothes to mourn her husband, was accused of bringing curse and hailstorm in KZN. Comrades, thank you very much. And thank you so much for inviting us as the party.
Thank you to the South African Communist Party for the message and the reminder of the tasks that still face us. As we celebrate the Kotane legacy, for Mama Kotane, like many from her generation, being part of the struggle and being active in the Women's League struggle and the ANC Women's League, it is therefore appropriate that we now call on the Women's League President, Comrade Bathabile Dlamini, to deliver a message. Bathabile, the platform is yours. Unmute, Mama. Malibongwe. Rona ya Women's League, Bathabile Dlamini, ha re mo fe chance hore a re fe molaetsa. Then ke tla le bitsa at some point re opele. Bathabile. Doika, doika. Doika, 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 amandla, malibongwe. As we wait for Madlamini to connect. Doika, doika, doika. Yes, I'm listening. Doika, 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 doika. Amandla. Mebatabile is finding it difficult to connect. We'll move on and invite Ambassador Sam Kotane. Ambassador Sam Kotane, the platform is yours. Ambassador Kotane. Ambassador Sam Kotane, the platform is yours. Doika, 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 doika. Doika, 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 agilut, doika, agilut, doika, 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 doika. Kena korribile. Ambassador Sam Kotane. Akuna muntu ophethe umhlaba aye.
Ikamala makosi kazimani bongwe. Ikamala makosi kazimani bongwe. Mali bongwe, mali bongwe. Mali bongwe, mali bongwe. Lidiso la mapuma hadi hali bongwe. Lidiso la mapuma hadi hali bongwe. Ikamala makosi kazimani bongwe. Ikamala makosi kazimani bongwe. Mali bongwe, mali bongwe. Mali bongwe, mali bongwe. Lidiso la mapuma hadi hali bongwe. Lidiso la mapuma hadi hali bongwe. Diachisa, 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 diachisa. Ikamala makosi kazimani bongwe. Ikamala makosi kazimani bongwe. Mali bongwe, mali bongwe.
Ambassador Kotane is on Samsung Galaxy X S7. Host, please unmute him so he can engage. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. On behalf of the Kotane family, I would like to express our deep gratitude to the organizers of this event, the Gauteng wing of the African National Congress, and by extension, thank the Northwest ANC for putting together a similar event in honor of Rebecca Kotane. We come together to celebrate Kotane's 109th birthday, which she missed by a mere 12 days, having passed away on 31st January 2021. The family would like to reiterate its heartfelt thanks to the presidency and the government of the Northwest Province for having accorded Ma a special official funeral service. We also send a big thank you to all the people who sent condolences. Such expression of solidarity has lifted our spirits and eased the pain brought about by the loss of a mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. Ma's year of birthday coincides with the formation of the South African Native National Congress, what we today know as the African National Congress, on 8th January 1912. 35 days later, on 12 February to be exact, Kotane was born in the sleepy town of Tabanchu, some 70 kilometers away from Bloemfontein. Interestingly, Tabanchu also produced two presidents of the ANC. The Reverend Zacchaeus Mahabane led the organization for two separate spells, that is, from 1924 to 1927. Then again from 1937 to 1940. The Reverend Mahabane was the third and sixth president of the ANC. The eighth president, Dr. James Moroka, served in that capacity from 1949 to 1959. Not only did Bloemfontein bequeath us the ANC, but one of this country's deeply committed Afrikaner revolutionary. I refer here to Bram Fischer, a staunch communist and patriot who dedicated his life to the freedom of this country. As has been stated, Kotane's life was inextricably linked to that of her husband, Moses Kotane. The trials and tribulations that he suffered under apartheid rule were also visited upon her. Here, I will not delve into her political activities, safe to say that her quiet demeanor and steely resolve was a shield the notorious special branch of the racist regime could never penetrate. Ma was a loving mother, a kind soul, very unpretentious, but a famed disciplinarian. That she could hold family together when her husband went into exile in early 1963 speaks volumes about her character and fortitude. How we as children turned around despite all odds is all due to her. She was a solid rock that held the family together. Somehow she never seemed bitter that she never saw her husband alive again all those years. To her, the greater calling was the liberation of South Africa. That she and her husband are united in death at their resting place in Pella is something that we as family cherish. She will forever remain special in our hearts. Thank you very much. Nothing's happening. Does that mean they didn't get it?
Ntate Kotane, for that powerful message on behalf of the Kotane family. Indeed, their contributions and memories will continue to feed and nourish the trees of freedom. Before we come to the main purpose of tonight, which is the memorial lecture by Me Comrade Nosiviwe Mapisa Ngakula. This morning, in the provinces of Northwest and Gauteng, which were home to the family Kotane, the structures of the ANC and the SACP organized memorial activities. And we will get slideshows of this event. I now hand over to the technical team to play the slideshows.
Ikamala makosi kazima libongwe. Ikamala makosi kazima libongwe. Malibongwe, 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 malibongwe. Libito la mapuma hadi halibongwe. Libito la mapuma hadi halibongwe. Ikamala makosi kazima libongwe. Ikamala makosi kazima libongwe. Malibongwe, 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 malibongwe. Libito la mapuma hadi halibongwe. Libito la mapuma hadi halibongwe. Diachiswa, 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 diachiswa. Ikamala makosi kazima libongwe. Ikamala makosi kazima libongwe. Malibongwe, 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 malibongwe. Ikamala makosi kazima libongwe. Ikamala makosi kazima libongwe. Malibongwe, 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 malibongwe. Libito la mapuma hadi halibongwe. Libito la mapuma hadi halibongwe. Diachiswa, 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 diachiswa. Ikamala makosi kazima libongwe. Ikamala makosi kazima libongwe. Malibongwe, 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 malibongwe. Libito la mapuma hadi halibongwe. Libito la mapuma hadi halibongwe. Diachiswa, 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 diachiswa. Ikamala makosi kazima libongwe. Ikamala makosi kazima libongwe. Malibongwe, 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 malibongwe. Ikamala makosi kazima.
Gongwe. Oh, what a wonderful day. Thank you to the communities of Deep Kloof and Pela and the ANC structures in the Bojanala region and Johannesburg for organizing these events in memory of our beloved Mama, Mama Rebecca and Ntate Moses Kotane. Our inaugural speaker of Mary Rebecca Kotane Memorial Lecture needs little introduction. Rebua ka mang fana. A teacher by training, a young organizer of domestic workers in East London, a member of Umkhonto Wesizwe who trained in Angola and the Soviet Union and serving in the political military structures, a leader of the ANC Women's Section in exile, a representative of South African women in Pan-African Women's Organization. This is Comrade Nosiviwe Mapisa Ngakula. She rose through the ranks of the ANC Women's League, serving as its national organizer, then as a Secretary General, and as its president. After 1994, she has also been deployed to various responsibilities in government, including as a member of parliament and as a Minister of Home Affairs, Correctional Services, and now as Minister of Defense and Military Veterans Affairs. A patriot, a hard worker, a fierce champion for the rights of women, children, and the poor. We will listen to a revolutionary song by Amandla. At the end of the song, Comrade Nosiviwe Mapisa, please unmute for this inaugural Rebecca Kotane Memorial Lecture. Malibongwe. Amandla.
We can hear you, Comrade Nosiviwe.
Thank you very much. The sound just went off. Is the song over now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much, Comrade Fipi. Program directors, Comrade Peace and Comrade Sepo, members of the Kotane family, members of the ANC Veterans League, members of the ANC Women's League, members of the South African Communist Party, the CEO of the Kotane Foundation, Comrade Stephen Masia, comrades and dear friends, allow me right at the outset, comrades, to commend the Kotane Foundation and the alliance structures for their sense of occasion and indeed of history for diarizing today's event as Mayor Rebecca Kotane's first memorial lecture. Today's event sits in the middle of two important historical moments internationally and here at home for South Africans who, like Mayor Rebecca, committed time and energy in pursuit of the goals of the struggle for the liberation of the motherland, South Africa. Recently, we celebrated together with millions of like-minded people across the globe. First occasion was the International Women's Day on the 8th of March. The next event, a week from today, will be what has gone in our history as Human Rights Day on the 21st of March. As we remember Mayor Rebecca today, circumstance enjoins us to pull all three dates together because the core of both International Women's Day and our Human Rights Day talk to who Mayor Rebecca was and her involvement in the project to secure our liberation. Comrades, let us recall that International Women's Day was designed as a vehicle for the advancement and celebration of the political, economic, and social empowerment and achievement of such goals as gender equality. That is what Mayor Rebecca dedicated her adult life to. Gender equality, to secure for all women the necessary political space, easy access, and equal participation of all women in the economic sphere, and unfettered participation in the social plateau of human endeavor in our country. The insertion in the preamble of our Constitution of the following words that define the democratic project as a means, and I quote, to heal the divisions of the past and establish a society based on democratic values, social justice, and fundamental human rights, close quote. This confirms the correctness of the contributions made by many of our mothers, like Ma Charlotte Maxeke, Ma Sisulu, Ma Rebecca, Ma Rita Nzanga, Ma Ray Simons, Ma Ruth First, Ma Amy Silinga, Ma Shope, and many, many others. We in the South African National Defense, if I may use this as an example, have picked up three brave and gallant women, Queen Mantatisi, Charlotte Maxeke, and Queen Mujaji, to name our submarines. I guess this is because of the swift manner in which women can move as they do things, holding children together, but also participating in the liberation of the people of the country. As you are aware, the African National Congress has declared 2021 as the year of unity, renewal, and reconstruction in the year of Charlotte Maxeke, a woman who stands as the embodiment of the fight for women's rights to be recognized as human rights. She's recognized internationally as one of the prominent intellectuals of the 20th century because of her contributions to debates on questions relating to the welfare of African people and gender politics. I'm pleased, comrades, that the Kotane Foundation and the alliance structures have deemed it fit to organize this memorial lecture so soon after Mayor Rebecca's passing, while the memories are still fresh. This initiative will ensure that the memory and legacy of Kotane will remain etched in our minds and our people and become the lessons learned for current and future generations. Kotane, Rebecca, led a life filled with extreme hardship from an early age and even to the period leading to her involvement in the struggle for people of South Africa. She became a domestic and factory worker after her schooling in Kotane, Tabanshu. She was the third child of Fumo and Rantlagane Isaac Sibito, a humble peasant family. The irony of her birthplace cannot be lost, in that this was just 70 kilometers from Bloemfontein, the birthplace of our movement, the African National Congress. Although she was overshadowed by her husband, partner, and comrade, Moses Kotane, she nonetheless was acknowledged as an accomplished activist in her own right. The history of her activism is like a tapestry of the history of South Africa and the history of the African National Congress. Rebecca was born on the 12th of February, 1912, just 35 days after the formation of the African National Congress on the 8th of January, 1912. It is easy, therefore, to understand why her life was to be intertwined with the ANC throughout its history of existence, from its formation through the period of petitioning of the colonial regime, through the defiance campaigns in the 1940s and 50s, the adoption of the Freedom Charter in 1955, the 1956 treason trial, the Sharpeville and Langa massacres of 1960, the peasant revolt in Pondoland, the launch of the armed struggle, the banishment of the African National Congress and other political formations, the period of the 1960s heavy repression into the mid-70s until the 1976 uprising. We can go on, comrades, and include the resuscitation of mass mobilization amongst our people through the period of the 80s, when mass and armed struggle forced the enemy to relent and unban the African National Congress and other political organizations in 1990, leading to talks between the ANC and the National Party. And the road was then subsequently opened for an all-inclusive democratic elections, and a new political dispensation was born. Kotane, Rebecca, lived through the entire period and remained active even at the worst of times, and also as the situation changed for the better due to the struggles waged by our people. She voted in all the general elections from 1994 to the last one in 2019. She also voted in the local government elections. In all those elections, she voted for her beloved movement, the African National Congress. As we look into the life and times of Kotane, we must also remember that there are very few people in the world who've lived through 2 world wars. She lived through the First World War of 1940 to 1918 and the Second World War from 1939 to 1945. She also experienced the Great Depression of 1929. As these capitalist-inspired human tragedies were unfolding, the struggles of our people led by the African National Congress and its allies, the Communist Party and the SACTU, the South African Congress of Trade Unions, were maturing. And so were cadres like Rebecca. It would be remiss of me not to mention that one of the other critical moments in our history was Kotane's birth, which happened at the same place where 2 ANC presidents, President Mahabane and James Moroka, were born in Tabancho. Mahabane was president from 1924 to 1927 and returned to office later in 1937 to 1940. Date Moroka became president in 1949 to 1952. We can thus see the era and area she came from and how her life was intertwined with these giants and leaders of our struggle. In essence, and in addition to these presidents of our movement, she lived to see all of them, I mean all of them. please indulge me to mention all of them as I emphasize the period of her long life. She was born in the year when President John Langalibele Dube became president on the 8th of January 2012. She was 5 years when President Sifako Mahato became president in 1917. She was 12 when Zakaria Richard Mahabane took the baton in 1924, and was 15 when Josiah Changana Kumete was elevated to the leadership of the African National Congress in 1927. She was 18 when Pixley Kaseme took over leadership in 1930. And when Tatema Abane returned to the presidency in 1937, Mary Becker was a 25-year-old fully-fledged activist. She was 28 when Alfred Kluma became the president in 1940. When James Muroka became president in 1949, Mary Becker was 37. When Albert Luthuli became the president in 1952, she was 40, and she was 55 when Oliver Tambo took over in 1967. When Nelson Mandela became the president in 1991, Mary Becker was 79 and was 85 when Thabo Mbeki took over, and was then 95 when later Comrade Jacob Zuma took over. In 2018, when Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa took over, Mary Becker was 106. She was 108 when she passed on at the end of January this year, 12 days before her 109th birthday. So, comrades, when I say Mary Becker lived to see all the presidents of the movement, she said, I mean it, because as I've just illustrated to you, Kotane was a tower of strength, not only to her family, but also to various communities where she lived and to the liberation movement as a whole. At the height of repression in South Africa, Kotane went and attended the funeral of Bram Fischer, who was mentioned here earlier on in Bloemfontein, without any fear of arrest or harm to herself from the racist regime's security forces. Her life was imbued with dedication and loyalty to the freedom struggle, and was fearless when confronted by the enemy. Her activism saw her taking key roles in such projects as the Defiance Campaign, mobilization in the period leading to the adoption of the Freedom Charter in 1955, and the Women's March on the Union buildings on the 9th of August 1956. And guess what? The furious response of the enemy to that march saw Mama Rebecca, amongst others, being detained together with other luminaries of the freedom struggle, such as Mama Albertina Sisulu, Mangoyi, one of the leaders of the march, Mama Amina Kachalia, and Mama Helen Joseph. They spent 2 weeks in detention. Have we had the capacity and capability of the resilience that Kotane had? And I want to say very few amongst us could have withstood the double tragedy of the apartheid regime's security forces harassment and banishment, and the loss of a dedicated partner through exile, then death, until the end. She remained unwavering and had the firm resolve to see justice, freedom, and equality for her people. This did not endear her to the apartheid enemy, and the harassment went on until we attained our freedom in 1994. One of the illustrations of her resolve was when she did not even want to have the remains of her husband, Tate Kotane, repatriated from Moscow. This, of course, due to what that Kotane had agreed to with Tate Kotane, that, and I quote, he must be buried where he died, close quote, in typical revolutionary parlance. It was thus no surprise that it took some time and persuasion post our freedom, and only became realized in 2015 for her to agree to his exhumation, repatriation, and reburial. At the reburial, comrades, Kotane cut a fallen solitary figure as the proceedings were underway up to the unveiling of the memorial center on the Kotane precinct in Pella village, Northwest. But she carried on with the proceedings right to the end, keeping her composure in the midst of the fanfare, the excitement of the ceremony underway. With her recent departure, she has joined the gallery of the leaders of our movement across the board for the full emancipation of our people. Kotane has lived a full life and went full circle for over the century that she lived. This with contemporaries with whom she has lived, too many of them to mention, at different epochs of our struggle. There are a few so fortunate in the world. As we honor her through this lecture today, which should be henceforth an annual event in her honor, let us look ourselves in the mirror and ask whether we have been in a position to emulate what she stood for until the end, never wavering, but staying true to the cause. Let us also ask ourselves hard questions. Are we, for instance, deserving of being called worthy products of the likes of Charlotte Maxeke and many other women I've counted here who were activists of her time and later? An honest answer to such a question, in my view, comrades, would be that most of us have clearly dropped the ball, having been sucked into the maelstrom of personal aggrandizement and the subsequent whirlpool of corruption. That, in my view, cannot be allowed to continue to destroy the history of our glorious struggle for freedom, led with so much dedication, loyalty, and firm leadership by several generations of the ANC and its alliance. So what can we do? Let's get rid of the rot. We know where it is. Let's get rid of the dirt. We know who is part of it. Let's get rid of the threat of our resources, of the resources of our people, especially those who are poor. We know who the thieves are, and let's get rid of them. What that will mean when we succeed to get rid of the rot is that we must go back to our people and mobilize them on the basis of the ANC's revolutionary values and morality. Let us not just preach about gender-based violence. Let us all be activists and define campaigns which will be effective. As I conclude, I wish to reiterate that there are equally very few people in the world still alive this year, 2021, who have lived through world pandemics. Kotane lived through the 1918 Spanish influenza, 1957, the Asian flu, 1981, the HIV and AIDS pandemic, SARS pandemic, and the coronavirus of 2019, COVID-19. Kotane survived them all. Mary Becker, Nora Kotane, Kotane, Sibitlo le Sibitloane, Mutsweneng, Sitlogolo sa Moloto, daughter of the Ratlagane, Masichaba, you have lived a full life. And may we all take succor in your fountain of wisdom. And at this point, I would like us to remember those we have recently lost, and in particular, the young man who was unfortunately killed during demonstrations by students in Johannesburg, but also remember that our king has passed on, and therefore may their souls rest in peace. Ke lebogile baheso, zikomo, baya danki, dikhensile, ndiyabulela. Thank you very much, comrades, for giving me the honor to deliver this memorial lecture of such a gallant fighter of the struggle for the struggle of our people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Comrade Nosiviwe Mapisa Ngakula, for the inaugural memorial lecture, worthy of the memory and the contributions of Mam Rebecca Kotane. I think indeed, Comrade Nosiviwe, Comrade Mam Rebecca Kotane has lived through all the lives and presidents of the ANC, which tells us that she's indeed the ANC, and the ANC is her, and the alliance, and the South African Communist Party indeed. And now, comrades, this brings us to the end of the activities of today. And on behalf of myself, Tsepo Belebesi, and the program director, Comrade Peace Mabe, the alliance and the regions of Johannesburg and Bojanala ANC regions, and on behalf of the ANC Northwest and ANC Gauteng, wish to thank you for being part of this inaugural memorial lecture. And please stay safe and abide by the COVID-19 health regulations. COVID is real, COVID kills. And I would now call on the Chief Executive Officer of the Moss and Rebecca Kotane Foundation, Mr. Steve Mashia, to give us a vote of thanks. I thank you.
Leaders, comrades, and friends, I would like to thank Mr. Tsepoma Belebesi and Mrs. Peace Mabe. Indeed, we are celebrating the reburial of Isitwalandwe Seaparangwe, Moses Kotane, and that celebration of the birthday of Mama Rebecca Kotane and that of the ANC. Therefore, I would like to first take this opportunity to thank the Northwest team, Wat 18, the comrades there and the leaders, and also the branch 19. The entire leadership of the BC, and then members and leadership. I would like to specifically thank Comrade Diale, and we wish Diale a speedy recovery. Moreover, I would like to thank the district leadership, and particularly Holebohamme Mbokoto Mefetsang Molosiwa, for the continued support of the foundation and the preservation of this legacy of Ntate Moses Kotane, now that we also are talking the legacy of Mama Rebecca Kotane. I would also like to thank the provincial leadership and the provincial organizer, particularly Comrade Zita, you ran leader. In Gauteng, respectively, I would like to, and I also would like to, in the Northwest, thank the Women's League, the Veterans League, and the entire Alliance Partnership, because we are working very, very closely in the Northwest. And in Gauteng, I would like to thank Wat 28, which is the Moses Kotane branch itself, and thank the Zone 10, in Deep Kloof, and particularly also like to thank Me Ethel, for miracle extraordinarily. And from the Communist Party, thank the Linda Jabani district in Gauteng. I would like to thank the REC members, particularly Red Den Bovu, and then also the Secretary, Comrade Dada, and more than anything else, to also thank the chairperson, Comrade Jeff Makubu. We thank you so much for the contribution, for the support, leader. Let's continue doing that. I would also like to thank the Women's League, the veterans, and the entire Alliance partnership. And to particularly thank the deployed members of the NEC that have been deployed into these activities, auspicious activities of today, and particularly to thank Mama Action, Me Nomvula Mokonyane, Ralebuha, Mama Action, and then to thank the entire ANC headquarters and the organizing team, and to also thank the provincial DIPs and the national DIPs, and to particularly, thank the artist who did the mural, Go Soweto. This artist did this for free. He didn't request us to pay for this. And that the Pops Dangridge Mahlomvu. I hope I didn't butcher your name. And more than anything, I would like to thank the elders who honored these activities, both in Pela and in Soweto. Bagodi ba rona ba tsogile phakela, ba ne ba dancer. They literally and practically had a party today. And to thank those who assisted, carry food parcels that we gave to our elders on this annual event that we will be doing. And then I also would like to thank those who participated in the social medias and who got to be part of these activities. More than anything else, I would like to thank the board of directors of the Moses Kotane Foundation, particularly the chairperson, Ambassador Joseph Kotane. I say board members, I truly am humbled for you to have given me this opportunity to steer this organization to where it is going. And to have a special thanks to Mayor Menosiviwe Mapisa Ngakula for the lecture that was very, very, very moving. Mama siyabulela koko, masiyenze futhi next time. And also to thank the President of the country, Mr. Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa, for allowing us to go into level 1. So that we are able to have these activities both, as physical and visual. So more than anything else, I would like to thank, to remember the words of Comrade Nomvula Mokonyane when she said, "Khusiyami," and indeed, lena ke re khusiyami. As I conclude, we will be celebrating Mama Rebecca Kotane the whole year. Indeed, Mama Nomvula Mokonyane. And with those words and others, I would like to say, long live the spirit of Moses Kotane, long live. Long live the spirit of Mama Rebecca Kotane, long live. Long live the ANC, long live. Long live the SACP, long live. And igama lamakhosikazi malibongwe. There are other leaders that I did not acknowledge. I would like to say all leaders who participated in both provinces, you are acknowledged, even though I did not call you by name. and we really thank and support your participation, and I thank you so much. Thank you, Program Director.
Ikamala makosi kazima libongwe. Ikamala makosi kazima libongwe. Malibongwe, 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 malibongwe. Libiso la mapuma hadi halibongwe. Libiso la mapuma hadi halibongwe.